Good morning. It is the next day of our Heywood Wakefield table refinishing project, and we stained this yesterday with the champagne stain, and I'm going to go ahead now and apply my finish coat. Now you can see on this side, I've already done this one. I did this yesterday. This is the wheat. So this side is completely finished. This has 3 coats of clear varnish on it, and we're done except for the potential of rubbing it out. On this side, we have this stain applied, but there's no varnish on here yet. We want to let this stain dry overnight before we apply a varnish. So this is a sample. You can see the difference in the colors, what it's going to be when it actually gets finished applied. And these water-based stains, they have a tendency just to completely matte out and change colors when they dry. And it gives an appearance as though it's not, maybe even not the color that you want. The color changes a lot when it dries. But you just ignore that and know that when you put a finish on it, the color is going to come back to life. It's just it's a sort of a byproduct of all water-based products. Stains anyway, they tend to do this. So we're going to go ahead and apply the varnish. Now when you buy the kit from WeRefinish, when you buy the refinishing kit for the Heywood Wakefield, you'll get 2 quarts of product. You'll get a quart of stain, whether you choose the champagne or the wheat. You'll get a quart of stain, and if you buy the kit, you'll also get a quart of varnish. Okay, so it's the top coat that we suggest for our stain. However, you can go ahead and use other products. You can use polyurethane. You can use 1K, 2K waterborne products. You can use lacquer. You can use oil. You can use wax, shellac. They're compatible, these stains, with any top coat product, really. So, but we do suggest, this is a great product. So we've been using this same finish for 15 years now, and it applies easy. It's fast. It's just simple for a lot of people that don't finish all the time. Maybe don't have spray equipment and don't have a lot of finishing knowledge. This has been a fantastic finish, and it comes up really nice in the end. As you can see, it's very durable, and we've had basically no issues with it through the years. So this is the finish that we sell with it. So what I use just for this finish, okay, is I use a foam applicator pad because it just seems to work really well with this water-based finish. The first coat that we're going to put on, we're not going to put on too heavy. Okay, I'm going to put a relatively light coat on, and then I'm going to follow that up with 2 more subsequent coats. But we're going to put on a light coat to start. So to begin with, we're just going to dip it in our varnish and start to apply it. You want to go in a straight motion. Okay, always keep your lines straight. Seems to just be common sense sort of thing, but I guess it bears mentioning. So you can see as we're applying the finish here, the color is starting to come back, and now you can see the similarities between the two, between the sample. I'll tell you, interesting about this sample is I refinished this table. This was our table in our office, and I refinished this table about 10 years ago. And I did the same thing to it. I made it half wheat and half champagne, and we thought, well, this will be like our sample table, and had it in the office for a desk for the past 10 years. Well, we just decided to redo our office, and we put a bunch of new Heywood Wakefield furniture in there. As a matter of fact, this drop leaf table is now our desk. And but to show you how our finish hasn't changed in all these years, this is the champagne from 10 years ago. So you're going to get the same color every time you order. You don't have to worry about, maybe the color not matching. If you did a refinishing project 10 years ago and you order stain, it's still going to be the same color as the one from 10 years ago. Okay, so my first coat is really just my sealer coat. Okay, so I'm not worried about making it real perfect and real smooth. This is my sealer coat. I'm going to scuff this coat eventually anyway. I just want to make sure I get full coverage. Okay, we're going to let that go ahead and dry. Doesn't take very long to dry. And I'll come back and apply a second coat. So just to give an idea of how long this finishing process takes, we're going to set a timer. So we're now at 0. Okay, I'm just going to leave this go throughout the day. And then once we're done with this whole project, we'll see what the timer's at, and just set that aside. So we're going to go ahead and let this dry, and we'll come back. This finish dries really quickly, so as soon as it's able, we'll go back over it with a second coat, and then between the second coat and the third coat, we'll give it a decent sanding. Each coat will be subsequently a heavier coat than the previous. All right, so I'm ready to do some scuff sanding here. I feel like it's dry enough. Is it as dry as it maybe it should be? I mean, I could probably give this, I could give this till tomorrow and it would, be even better, but I'm in a hurry and I'm kind of trying to show you how quickly we can actually go through this process. But between your second and your third coats, the more drying time you can give it, the better, because what's going to happen is it's going to sand better. It's going to powder up a little bit nicer. But it is ready to be sanded, technically. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, I just ate lunch, so, it's still early in the day. We've been working on this so far. We started this project 4 hours and 5 minutes ago. Pretty quick. So I'm going to take a piece of 320 sandpaper. All right, that's what I'm going to use to do my my scuff sanding. Okay, so we'll set this part of the sheet aside, and all I'm going to do is hand sand it. I don't want to use an orbital sander because I risk breaking through right there on the edge. And we only have 2 coats of finish. We only have 2 coats of finish over top of the color. So it's not a lot of finish, as far as millage thickness goes. So an orbital sander would be awfully aggressive and you'd probably burn through the top coat and down. If you wanted to use an orbital sander, I would probably put on a third coat, and then between the third coat and the fourth coat, if you wanted to use an orbital. But after 2 coats, I would not use an orbital. I'm just hand sanding. And it's really all that is necessary. So hand sanding is going to work fine. Now, what I'm going to do here is sand it and try and get out, I want to smooth it out, but you'll also have there's not very many, but, looking at it from this angle, there's a few streak marks sort of from the pad, kind of like if you were using a brush. you know, you get some brush marks. So we'll sand those out on this coat. Now, even though this has only been drying for a couple hours, you can see right here already how it's powdering up. So it's sanding actually very nicely for having only applied it a couple hours ago. I guess this finish has been on, what did we say we put the second coat on? At like a half an hour. So it's been about 3 hours or so, maybe a little bit more. This coat's been drying. Now you can, on finished coats, you can sand across grain. So you don't need to worry about that, and that's actually a good way to get rid of if you have any lines or any brush marks or anything like that, or any little ridges and valleys from applying it with the applicator pad. Going against the grain is a good way to sand them down, because you're only sanding the peaks, you're not sanding the valleys. So you sort of knock them down pretty quickly, sanding in this direction. So when we sand the edge here, and when we're sanding this, you want to make sure you don't go over the side too much. Don't roll over the side, because the area sanding through to your stain, the most vulnerable area is this spot right here, right along the edge. This is where you want to really take care. So when I'm sanding, I kind of sand right up to that spot, but I don't go over it, because I don't want the pressure of my hand hit this edge too hard. If you do that, and I've had people send me pictures of, what's this? And it's what it is. It's that they, on this rolled over edge on the Heywood Wakefield, if you go over the edge, and you go over the edge, and you go over the edge, you're never going to have as much finish on this rounded edge, because you're going to get more finish on the flat surface than you are on the rounded edge on the side. So make sure you don't go over that edge. Just stay up on top. And then when you get to that edge, just do it lightly. Okay, just nice and light on the edge and on the rounded side. All right, then we'll just take a tack cloth or a white rag or something, to dust it off. If you have an air compressor, you can use compressed air, which is what we would usually do. But you want to have your surface clean for your last coat of finish. So you want to remove all the sanding dust. All right, then we're ready for our final coat. Now for the final coat, I'm using a fresh pad, okay, a fresh foam applicator, just because, I want this coat to be perfect. And the other one has been sitting around. I could have taken care of it. These things just don't cost that much. So, and I don't want any water or anything in here. So for the cost of them, it's better just to use a fresh one, especially for your last coat. This finish will start to dry and start to harden. And if you wash them out, then your sponge gets soggy with water. It just, to me, just doesn't seem to be worth saving them. Putting all this effort into doing a nice job on here, why worry about a $1 sponge applicator? Now on my final coat here, I'm going to put on a pretty heavy coat. Again, I want to be careful not to put too much right on the edge there, because I don't want it to run over. And I'll come back to the edge. You want to work fast enough, especially on the last coat. You want to work quick enough that you are not going back over top of that finish once it starts to dry and set up, because then you're just going to pull the finish and leave streaks and marks. So you want to kind of work it fast. Okay, it's really nice when you're doing a job like this to have some cross-lighting so that you can see, you know, I have a door for a French door over here. So I have a natural lighting streaming in this way, plus the light here in the shop. So I have a lot of cross-light coming across, and I can really see the finish really well from this angle. And it's great to have that, because you can see if you have any areas where you missed, or if you have any, you know, brush marks or anything like that. I'm happy with it. This looks great. We're going to call it done. Once this dries, we'll come back for one final little step to sand it really lightly again and rub it out, which is an optional step. Okay, so that's an optional step. You don't have to do that, but I'll show you how to do that as well. As far as the finish coats go, this is the last one. This is all done. That's pretty much all that there is to it, right? And you can see that's our sample. So it came out great.